Okay, welcome back, guys, on our Rocky SEO YouTube channel. We have here Rocky and a special guest, Andrew Milbourn from Kiss the Fish. Hey, Andrew. So we'll go today into a bit of his story and what's behind Kiss the Fish. So let's get started.
Thanks for the invite, Matt.
Andrew set up Kiss the Fish in 2007 and has extensive experience with corporate life at the highest level. Think board director of Future PLC, and global consultancy experience working with leading brands in FMCG, car, packaging, publishing, and technology markets. Andrew prides himself on business transformation. He's an inspiring leader and public speaker who plays an ambassadorial role at Kiss the Fish, taking and running events and working with the team on growth project. That was a long one. Welcome to the show, Andrew.
Thank you very much. I feel very honored to be invited. So appreciate the invite to speak with you.
Let's go a bit on your background, although I gave an introduction already.
I started out in media as a raw sales exec a long time ago before the internet became a thing, and always wanted to run my own business. So as soon as I got the chance, I launched a training business. That would have been around about 1993. I was very lucky. After a struggle, I managed to sell two very large contracts, one to a publisher and one to a car franchise. And that set me up really, and I've never looked back. I got an offer from one of my clients in would have been 1997 to go and join them as sales director. That was a business that wanted to be a PLC, and they needed a sales director to be able to do that. That was one of the weak areas that they identified. So I joined that business because I thought it was a great opportunity, and it was. So for 4.5 years, I worked with Future Publishing, became a PLC, and learned an awful lot about that world. And then would have been 2003, I went back to running my own business, setting up my business. 2007, I got an investor in the business, which didn't work out very well, but we launched the business in 2007. 2010 nearly killed us all because there was a global recession. Lost all my business in the space of 2 weeks. 4 big clients fell over one after the other. And here we are today. So very pleased to say from 2016, I managed to scale the business to be what it is now, which is a fractional sales director business.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Andrew, for the view. And now, before I forget, the key question, why Kiss the Fish?
So there's a video on our YouTube channel if anyone wants to see that. But basically, I was inspired by a swimming coach who was teaching kids to swim in America, in Lake Kentucky. Kids were frightened of getting in the water. I'm talking about 5-year-olds. They were frightened of swimming because there were huge catfish, 50-pound plus catfish, which their dads, ironically, used to go fishing for. So they knew these big fish were at the bottom, and they were frightened of getting in the water. So the coach, I overheard him say this. I was with friends water skiing on the lake, and I overheard this swim coach say, "You got to kiss the fish." And I thought that's a strange thing to say. And he said, "You got to think about loving the fish. You've got to think about hugging them and giving them a big kiss," because he was trying to create the impression to these children that they're lovely creatures and that they shouldn't be frightened of them. And I thought that was a great metaphor for what we do, which is help companies embrace difficult stuff, growth strategies which may not be easy. So we encourage people to think that way. That's why I named the business Kiss the Fish. Plus, I thought it was a good, fun name and very memorable, hopefully, and it seems to work. So it's a marketing tool.
Yeah, that's actually the last point is great, because I think, the connection with fractional sales directors might be a bit, far off if you want, but it's so memorable. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, and he came across, work we do, and I mentioned you guys, and he said, "What? Kiss the Fish? Oh, wow, I'll remember these guys." So that's really a good point for marketing. So thumbs up from me there.
I was very lucky to have a very, very good marketeer mentor, and he said to me, "You must always stand out. Everything about you must stand out." He said, "And a brand, don't forget, a brand only means something once it's established in a marketplace. When people first hear a brand name, you hear Coca-Cola for the first time, it means nothing. But after the 3,000 millionth time, it starts to mean something red and tasty and sugary, and Kiss the Fish is similar. No one knows what we are when they first hear the name, but they always remember it, and they ask the question why and how, and that enables us to have the conversation."
So fractional sales directors, with the changes in the market and where companies are going and shrinking budgets, and we can go on that tangent. Why do you think this matters more than ever?
Which is interesting. I didn't set out to launch a fractional sales director business. I set out to launch a sales consultancy, and that's what I did. But people kept offering me fractional work. I'm quite old, as you can see, so I've been around within the media network and various other markets quite a long time. And people started to get in touch with me and say, "Oh, do you think you could come and work for us for 9 months? We want an interim, or we want someone to create strategy for us and steer the ship. We don't want to recruit a full-time sales director." And I realized, because I was getting offers, that, well, there's a demand for this. So I started to, first of all, just do it myself for the first few years when I left the PLC job. And more, my time was eaten up with client work. And I thought, this is crazy. I've got to get other people in here. And then in 2016, I was fortunate enough to be coaching the CFO Center, who are a very large supplier of fractional CFOs. And I could see that if we worked together, I could scale my business around their business, because everyone has a sales problem, right? And so, very graciously, I met with their CEO, their founder, Colin Mills, great man. And the rest is history. We teamed up in 2017 and we scaled very quickly.
Do you think, it's still unclear for some companies now that there is this tool available, essentially?
A sales director works at the top level, develops strategy, growth strategy. Really, I always say to people who want to work for us, you've got to prove that you can transform business. That's really what leadership is all about. So an SME of, let's say, less than 20 mil probably doesn't need a full-time sales director, because the whole business of re-strategizing happens on an ongoing cycle in a large business like a PLC, for example. But in a 10 mil turnover SME, do you really want to spend 200K on establishing a sales director's job for that moment in time, 3 to 6 months, where you're really preparing strategy? And the answer is no, you don't. You need it on an occasional basis. So I think that's where the need, but it comes from understanding what a sales director really does. Yes, they do handle the big contracts. Yes, they'll negotiate tenders. They'll speak in public. They'll do those inspirational things. But the real value of a sales director is in growth strategy, is in understanding how to do two things. One, get the business to be more effective through efficiency. That is, manage accountability and manage the metrics of sales. But the other is how to improve the effectiveness, the quality of selling. And that's where most people fall down. That's a really hard thing to do. Now, I had a background in training and coaching, and I really enjoyed that aspect of helping youngsters get better and better. I built a bit of reputation for that. So that element of it became inevitable, really, that I should launch a fractional sales director's job that incorporate both strategy and people development. So that's where I think people may not understand there is opportunity to really get the very best quality and experience in an SME for the cost of what would normally be just a low-grade sales director or a high-grade sales manager.
I think that's a really key point again, because companies might be at a point in time where they will need the services, yet they don't know these are available as well. So I think, from people I've spoken with, and there's quite a few in my network, I don't even know they know about the existence of your service. And well, that's what we're doing together as well, to make more awareness out there, right?
You're helping us become famous, Gab. So that's the name of the game now. We want your help in doing that, and we're getting it. It's working.
You touch upon, for the youngsters. Maybe we can just sprinkle some story, which I'm sure you have so many.
I learned a long time ago that salespeople. In fact, I took a cold call about half an hour ago from a real bright young salesman. But he did what they all do, which is he started telling me about his product. And he was very competent, confident young lad. He was 24. I asked him his age. He was 24. But what he was doing was thinking that if he talks well enough about his product, in some way or other, I'll want to buy it. And I said to him, look, I'm not interested in your product. In fact, other people aren't interested in you. They're interested in what you can do for them. And you're interested in what a product may do better than the ones you're already buying. Because, we're gone are the days when we all have this need for so many different products. We've got all the products we need. I've got marketing coming out my ears, right? But I haven't necessarily got the best marketing. I haven't necessarily got, well, obviously with you on board, Gab, we have. But hey, so I said to this lad, I said, look, stop pitching your product and start telling me how you're going to help me. He said, but I don't know that. I said, but there you are. Just tell me that's what you want to do, and then ask me some good questions. The other thing youngsters tend to do is they ask a list of questions they've been trained in, rather than conversational questions that actually help us explore, and that's the key word, whether or not we should be working together. And if you should be working together, then get on with it. It's easy, isn't it? Selling becomes a piece of cake if that's the case.
I think that's a really key point, because at the end of the day, we're always working with a people business. And I think you told me once, you buy the person, you don't buy the product, right? Because then you connect to someone, and then eventually, okay, what you do also helps us even better. But at the end of the day, is more of a personal connection there. And I totally agree there.
Yeah, look, if I like you, I want to be interested in what it is that you've got to talk about. But if I don't like you, I might be polite because I'm English and we tend to be over polite and we tolerate people, but I'll never buy from you unless you've got something I absolutely must have, and that's going to be very unlikely.
When you had to switch from, those more corporate jobs to essentially running Kiss the Fish and where it is today, what was the biggest, maybe realization, or, I mean, obviously you're expert sales leader, no question, but was there anything that you went, oh, wow, I didn't think about this. Oh, wow, that means that, and so on.
Great question. Thanks for that. Yeah, selling wasn't the problem. My nemesis was marketing, right? Your neck of the woods. And I didn't realize how easy it was to overspend on marketing. So when you launch a business, you sell more work than you can handle. So you subcontract to other people to help you with that. And of course, the minute you then start having to manage, you start to want to expand your pipeline and build and multiply up. But the minute you start doing that, you start looking at marketing cost and opportunity to spend. And there is so much opportunity to waste money on marketing. And yeah, I must get 20 LinkedIn offers a week from cold call agencies, from AI specialists, from personal coaches, from all these people that are essentially helping me in my marketing or trying to. And as you know, we put content together, we make videos, we put a lot of LinkedIn articles out there. You can spend thousands just doing a few videos if you get it wrong. So in the early days, I massively overspent on marketing, thinking, yeah, I was going to be rich, right? I was going to expand the business really quickly. And of course, marketing is a dark art, right? I mean, we laugh about it. We call it coloring in because marketeers and sales are always in competition, although we're not really. We're very much aligned. But I ran into that trap, even though I was warned about it. My helper mentor, Colin Mills, he said to me, "You'll overspend on marketing," and sure enough, I did. So that was the hardest thing. Once you start to get a business rather than just some money from self-employment, you've got to structure what you do very carefully. And even now, marketing is still the pull. I get so many offers, and they all look great, right? I can do this, I can do that. So yeah, I would say if you're launching a business for the first time, be very careful what you spend on marketing and make sure you can afford it.
From my perspective, what we tried doing is also put it into what I call an ROI calculator. I'm sure you know ROI for other things, but then for marketing, again, you can be overwhelmed by all the activities you do, but then, how much the spend then quantifies, how much it comes in, comes in, comes out. And I try to make it simple, just with a simple spreadsheet. You spend X with us or whoever, how much you sold before and after, what was the uplift, was it good, great, was it not good, then change, do something else.
Your sale to me was very easy. It was easy to buy because yeah, you did that exactly, but you didn't try and sell something that extra. You said let's start working together, spend what you can afford, and we did that, and it did work. So we did more, and we'll continue to do that. So your approach to me was very easy because I heard you on a similar thing to this. You were on the other side of the fence. You were doing a webinar, I think, for one of
Yes,
the
correct.
business, uh,
For John, yeah.
for John, yeah. And you use terminology about marketing that I just didn't understand and didn't know about. So when you said conversational search, that term really resonated with me, and that's what got us chatting. And once we were chatting, it was very easy. So yeah, you made it very easy for us.
That's a bit of the new stuff, how people search these days. But then again, to the previous point, I think it's not so obvious that you do get how they call it, dollar for dollar spend for the marketing budget, and that there is a degree of spend that you will not get back in terms of your ROI, especially at the beginning of a campaign, because some marketing activities take time. Some people try to oversell. Hey, it takes 6 months. It doesn't most of the time, but 2 to 3 months, is reasonable. So, we try to be forthcoming. And then when things don't work, I also admit it and say, hey, we did that. It didn't work. What are we going to do? This new thing. And then we will try something new, when there are new things to try. But I know it's overwhelming. So thank you for the view there. Core services, I know there are several things you do, but I think the fractional one is the bigger one, because you also do sales training, media training for media teams. How would you structure those? I mean, can you give us a bit of view? What is the most important one and how the others apply to companies?
Sure, yeah. The core of the business is fractional sales directors, where we have a team of very, very talented, very capable individuals will plant themselves into an SME for a period, normally 18 months, sometimes longer. And that will be a three-stage agreement. And what we do is we look under the bonnet, we do a review of the business to find the low-hanging fruit, to see where opportunity is. And then we'll write the plan. So typically after 3 months of fairly intensive work very closely with the team. And by the way, we're not a boardroom activity. We are down and dirty with the sales team. We roll our sleeves up, we make calls, we listen to calls, we coach on the job, and we get a feel for how people are selling, what they're selling, and what the market is telling us. And then we're in a position to write a growth strategy, which we do. And then we handhold that team with the CEO very close to that through the growth strategy. And we reach a point where the team is operationally effective. We run the sales meeting every week or every month. We have individual meetings every week or every month, and we drive activity, and then we coach better selling, better process. I've developed personally an approach to sales which I call customer curiosity. It's all about how curious you can make your culture. So if people come to work every day thinking about how they can help their clients make more money, they naturally start finding ways, right? Because the human brain is incredibly powerful. So we try and make the sales team more compelling by helping them understand that their job is to help their customers make more money. And if they live, eat, and breathe that over a period of time, we culturally infect the businesses we work with so that becomes endemic. Then we find the quality of selling naturally improves and everyone gets excited and enjoys the ride, right? Because they're no longer trying to sell stuff. They're trying to help clients and trying to help clients make more money. And that's pretty exciting, because most of their, if not all of their competitors are not trying to do that. They're all trying to do the same thing, which is just sell stuff. And no one trusts a salesman, right? Because they try and take money off you. So that's what we do. And then there's a long tail of coaching to embed the process. Once it's embedded, sometimes we go around the cycle again. If it's in 18 months' time and the company likes us being in the business, as they often do, then we may be in fewer days a month, but we may reignite the whole strategic process again. Or we may coach from within someone to take over. So that's very often what happens. Someone as a manager grows into the role of sales director as we work with them. And sometimes the CEO wants to recruit because they don't have anyone of enough experience within the business. And so that's what we do. We help the business then. We leave a residue and a legacy. So when we've left the business is a changed entity. That's a successful engagement for us. Typically, as I say, about 18 months. But we use training and coaching. That's one of the reason we offer that. Sometimes that's just what people want to buy. So we can run various workshops. All I would say on that, Gabriel, is, and it's an honest thing, is that, training as a standalone practice really doesn't work very well, because you're relying on the individual to go through the pain of change. And what they tend to do is enjoy the process of being trained, because we're good at training, right? I can entertain people for as many days as you want me to on my feet. And we have exciting exercises and, live activity. We do all that stuff, but no one's going to change what they do unless they really, really work hard at it, or the management make them work hard at it. So we very rarely sell training as a standalone product. We will do that if that's really what people want. But actually, all of our coaches, all of our sales consultants are all very good at that. So we use it as a tool within the contracts that we run. And we can apply it when we need it. If someone's failing to win tenders, we can run a workshop on how you win a tender. If someone's not very good at engagement, we'll run some workshops on how you speed up engagement, and so on.
What is your view on AI selling, on how can it be a good tool or a bad tool?
Well, I think it's a good tool, and I think all salespeople should be aware of how AI can make them more effective because, AI really is about really fast information, and you need information. But the gold dust is still in human relationships. Now, at the moment, robots have not managed to develop that emotive, connective piece. We use AI in role plays. We use a service, it's very, very good, and we offer it to our clients where we're coaching a salesperson or a team. We'll do AI role plays where a robot comes on screen and an avatar comes on screen, and they look and sound just like a real person. You can have any language you want, you can have any style that you want, you can have aggressive, you can have soft. So that is where AI becomes really, really powerful because look, at the end of the day, the more you practice something, the better you're going to get at something. And the big problem with salespeople are they don't like being embarrassed, they don't like doing role play, and role play very often is inadequate because you can't effectively replicate the real world. These AI robots that we use, they're pretty close to the real world. And if you brief it properly, the system will give you what you're asking for. And you can run it again and again and again, and it will score you and it will give you feedback. So that's where, for me, AI is really powerful for sales development. But look, anything that speeds up the use of information has got to be engaged. So for all the users of CRMs, and everyone now uses CRM, there's so many plugins and so many additional tools and platforms that you can buy into that give you amazing client information. And remember, it's about curiosity. So the more I research, in fact, so I'll interrupt myself there. I was about to launch a platform before the AI sort of era really kicked off, and I was about to spend quite a lot of money on a standalone platform that meant I could constantly research client information. And now you don't need to; it's all there in AI. So if I've got 5 key targets this week, I would constantly be putting their name and the name of the contact I have into chat, asking different questions of chat to give me an angle on what's relevant to that person and to that business. Give an example. I was trying to get a hold of this guy, and he was really difficult. He didn't want to speak to anyone, wouldn't come to the phone, wouldn't answer email. And I found something through chat searching that he really liked cricket. He had put something, only one thing, but it was quite clear. So I just sent him a couple of messages about cricket. Lo and behold, got a meeting. That's where AI can be so helpful, and it can all instantly record every meeting, every conversation on your HubSpot or CRM. We use HubSpot. Sorry, forgive me, advertising them. Uh, they should pay us for that.
It's true. You need to be creative in the way you use it, right? And what I always tell, when I have conversations with people is that it does make a big difference if you did the legwork before. Because if you have an experience in whatever area, then this one will, you overuse the word, amplify your work. But then if you never done something, let's say for young people, no, they think they can do everything with it. That's my point there. So, but they didn't put the work in, and you have to put the work because I can crank a strategy for a business also for what we do much faster. But then I can immediately see, no, okay, this is bad, this is wrong. Okay, do it again. But because I've done the work in agency when I was in London, also by hand, doing normal work, let's say. So this is, I think, is a bit of a situation we have where there are tools available that allow to do our job better and faster, but then for the younger generation, how we tell them that they need to have also the learning and the experience in order to do the job faster because they want to skip everything, right?
That's a great point because salespeople, particularly young people, they're dopamine freaks, right? They want the next hit, and they don't want the boring, laborious hard work of preparation. And back in the day when we were going out on a call, we could take half a day just to prepare our presentation and what we knew. Nowadays, you can do most of that in half an hour, but you've got to do it. You're absolutely right. Automating it it's coming, but it's not quite there. So you've still very much got to be aware of how to use the tools, but you should be using the tools, and it does speed things up. Absolutely.
There's another thing I wanted to ask you, Andrew. On your website, you have this other program called the Reality Distortion program, which was inspired originally by Steve Jobs. And I know because I read it many times. But how do you think that applies to companies? Because it seems something out of the window, number one. And I didn't see many other people applying it to sales.
Thank you for mentioning that. I'd forgotten all about it. Yeah, it's a really important part of what we do. Steve Jobs taught me, and I had a mentor who lived, eat, and breathed this, that every problem that comes across your desk is solvable. And the key is to understand you have to find a solution. It's no good saying it can't be done. And I learned that from a very young age in my business career, and I'm very grateful for that. And I have a work colleague who I worked with for 5 years, and then before that for another 5 years, and really well. He came to me and he said, "Look, why don't we? I've been doing this stuff. Why don't we work together?" And I was so excited because I put my team through this program back in would have been the early noughties, so 99, 2000, 2001. I put all my team through this program, and it totally revolutionized the way they do business. Because what this program does is it shows you how to be a better problem solver by giving you problems to solve. I mean, it's not classroom training. It's not stand up and give you presentations. It's active. It's pressurized, and we literally break some people in that process. We get people upset by the fact that they just feel that it's all too much. It's overwhelming. When you're in that position, then you start to change your mindset. And by the way, that's what Steve Jobs did. Famous story, he knew that he needed to innovate continuously, and that's what he was so powerful at. And if you look at Apple's history, that's what it is. It's a story of innovation. And what is it now? I think the first or second biggest business in the world. Why? Because it lives, eats, and breathes agility and innovation. And he said to his design team one day, back in would have been the late 90s, let's get rid of the keyboard on our computers. And his head of design, who would have been hugely highly paid and one of the best, I think it was a girl at her job, she turned around and said, "See, that's impossible. We can't do that." And he said, "Well, you've got 3 months, and if you don't do it, you're fired." And and that's the kind of pressure we try and recreate in our programs, because we need people to understand it's no good saying you can't do it. And we've got a very clever way, which I won't explain here, but take too long, but of tying people's emotions into that work so that they feel they really have to be responsible for the problems in front of them. So it's a revolutionary piece of work. There's no other training like it, I don't think, anywhere. And once your teams, we start with senior people, we say, give your senior people the hit first, and then you'll want the rest of the team infected with that mindset. Because imagine that, right? Every sales team or any sales team that just always said, let's find a way, instead of it can't be done. I used to say to my sales team back in the PLC days, right, we need, let's say 20%, 15%. And a percentage of them would still sit there and go, no, that's impossible. But there were only 10% to 20% would go, we'll find a way. And they did. And they may not have got 25%, but they would have got 18%. Whereas the other 90% of the business just didn't bother because they knew it wasn't possible, right? So that's what that is. It's part of our ongoing instruction from the top in every contract, but we offer a very specific intensive 3-day program where we absolutely nail culturally how to think about problem solving in an endemic way. And it's really exciting and very powerful.
Okay, it reminds me of a somewhat is related, although it's not similar. OKRs, objective key results. Those are also stretch goals where you give them to your team, as in they have to actually assign themselves, if I'm not wrong, because I used to have those in one of the companies I worked for. And they were, again, stretch goals, things you want to reach those goals. But even if you will not reach them, it's still good because you push yourself further, right? Into, let's say, I don't know, not ranking for 20 keywords in my case, but you rank for 25. You wanted 50, you didn't reach 50, but you still did more than 20. And I think that's very, very powerful. I like those. They were scary at the beginning, I have to say.
Yeah, I like that, but the one thing I don't like about that is that it gives people an option not to achieve. So it makes you think, oh, well, I'll try, and sometimes but we prefer to say to people, no, no, that is the target, right? It's not a stretch goal, that's a goal. It comes from SAS thinking, training in the army. I've a couple of books of how the army train people. And the army in the UK are very effective because they do so much training, right? They train. And what they tend to do is when your mindset is beaten, at the point where you go, I can't do anymore, they make you do it again. And that agony of having to do another 5-mile hike when you've just done a 50-mile hike with 80 kilos of kit on your back, that ability to say, okay, we'll give it a go, we'll do this. That's what we want in sales teams. That's when the sales team becomes really powerful, when they all together find a way. And they don't just think it's optional. They don't say, well, maybe, maybe not. They'll go, no, no, we're going to do this. And the reason that's powerful, by the way, is because when you have that mindset, you have to think about contingency. It's not about one plan. It's about a plan on a plan on a plan, because that makes you innovate. That makes you think, well, how can we get more revenue where there is no more revenue? And the answer is, well, there is more revenue. It's just not where you're looking. So we teach innovation in a methodology of thinking, and that's really where the top guys are, right? That's where Elon Musk is, like him or loathe him. That's where Steve Jobs was, like him or loathe. I mean, some of these guys are really objectionable, but you can't fault their business approach, which is to always solve the problem.
On the reality distortion, would this apply the program, I mean, the approach and so on, would this apply to any business? Because I'm thinking, in my network, I have a lot of founders, people that have, startups, also various stages. Would there be a specific type of company? It has to be like a launch company to apply this successfully, in your opinion?
No, not at all. But they'll find it easier because they have an open mindset, and they'll have a mountain of problems to solve every second, right? Whereas in a corporate, the problems you're solving are, they tend to be bureaucratic barriers, or the more
Let's
mundane.
call it BS for what it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, negotiating with suppliers, but the real problems are strategic growth problems. And in a founder level or in a new business startup, yeah, you really will find it easier to embrace this process. But the answer to your question is no. It's industry as not agnostic. In fact, my colleague Jerry, who runs the programs, or he's the master of the programs, I run them with him. He actually did this for a government office, and they really struggled because they're so bureaucratic. This is 20 years ago. And I won't give you the department, but it was the very head of that department dealing with government ministers, the civil servants. I mean, even they did it, and they found it revolutionized their approach. And you know what? If only the rest of the civil service would do it now, I think we might not have some of the political problems we have. But hey, let's not go there, right?
For founders in my network, contact Andrew if you want to have a different approach. That one I recommend.
Yeah, we run taster days for those who won't be able to afford the full program. But if you just want to taste it, we'll do a half day expose of some of the practice, where we'll put you through the process in just half a day. So we do offer that as a means, because we want to be generous. We want to be a giving business. We give a lot of our content away, and we want to infect people with these skills, because we want everyone to get better, right? And that's a goal. That's part of our purpose.
And these ones, I mean, would there be, I mean, someone, let's say in the US, oh, you're in the UK, etc. This can be done remotely, I suppose, as well, right?
We're looking at the US. It's hard to do remotely because the tension you create is part of the opportunity to learn, and online you can't. You've got to press the flesh and see the whites of the eyes, because what we do in that session is we literally send people out of the office on tasks, impossible tasks. Uh,
You mean on
you
the
know,
street? Sorry if I interrupt. On the street, I mean.
yeah, it's a little bit like the apprentice approach, Alan Sugar's program, although we're not that daft, and we tend to get much better candidates than they get. But yeah, it's a bit like that. We will prepare an area. If you want to say in Manchester, we did a day in Manchester where my colleague, will go to Manchester. He'll reach out to certain organizations and create real time tasks that the team are under pressure to create. You can't really do that online. It's much harder. But maybe we should be trying. But we are looking at going to the States and taking it onto a bigger stage. So we'll see. We'll see how that pans out.
On the same point, you do run some webinars as well, like for the broader audience.
Yeah, we do webinars. We're doing one a month for the next 5 months. We did one at the end of last month, and we'll do one at the end of this month. And yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Again, we want to give stuff to people. I mean, it's part of our marketing, actually. There's an end game in it. But genuinely, we're not out there with a hard sell. We want people to hear the message. If they like the message, pretty much like you, Gab, we met through your message, and we're trying to do the similar thing. We've got some events planned, and yeah, it's going to be an exciting year. But we'll make more video, and we'll put a lot of free content out on our YouTube channel.
What excites you most about, the future of your industry, sales or fractional? If there's anything you didn't do yet, is there anything you still want to do? Where do you think things are heading for 2026?
It's a really exciting year for us, and we're growing. We're growing much faster than we ever have done, which is really exciting, because the government successively make things harder for you, don't they? With all the kind of, anyway, let's not go there. But yeah, so we're launching this year another new product. We try and innovate. We try and follow what we preach. We're launching a standalone development platform for salespeople, for entrepreneurs, for founders particularly. I've had the luxury of working with two fantastic entrepreneurs, John and James, who run a great business called the Mako Group. They're very big online. They've got a huge following on TikTok and on Instagram. They're teaching me about all of that. So we're launching this business to target people coming out of university who've got a great idea, and salespeople who just want to really get under the skin of what great selling really is. And it's called Customer Curiosity. It's on a standalone platform. We're test marketing it at the moment. We should be ready by April the 1st. And it's a sequence of video work, AI and interactive pieces to develop someone's understanding of what great selling really is. And there's levels within it, so it's a little bit like a computer game. You can get to a level and get up and get your certification as you go. And we're looking to get that accredited. So that'll be really exciting, and we will launch that in the States as well, and we'll make that a global business. So that's what's coming next for us. But I'm excited because you still need people. Yes, AI is improving all the time. It's getting faster and sharper. But the human brain, as Simon Sinek says, is wired to contact people and to be in contact with people. I studied anthropology at university, and I still remember to this day some of the things I learned there because I'm so interested in people. And we are social animals, and we always will be. We need to be communicating with people. So I'm quite sure that IT will eventually run our lives in a greater capacity than it currently does. And the line between human and robot will just get ever nearer and nearer. In my lifetime, I doubt if it'll ever become one thing, one organic thing, but ultimately it may well do. But I'm excited about the next 10 years because our business is right at the sharp end of what's really important. And that's the people game, right? It's about how you and I communicate and understanding how I build trust for all the right reasons, by the way, not because I want to con you, but because I genuinely want to see whether or not we should be doing business.
What you mentioned on gamification earlier, I've heard this times and times again where companies are gamifying their products, but I think there's definitely a good interaction there. So you're launching that soon as well, I heard.
We use the concept when we're managing young sales teams because that sense of achievement and reward for that achievement, and then stepping up to the next level and seeing a target, and that's all gamification. So you can create fun events in sales that play to that dopamine hit. I did a thing very quickly, story for you. I did a thing once. I put a washing line up in a sales team of about 22 guys and girls, all young, and I put about 25 pound notes back in the day when money was the thing, right? We put £5 notes across the room. And I said to the team, every time you make a sale, just go and take £5. Now, it wasn't the £5 that drove that. It was the sense of being seen to be winning. And that was gamification. That was creating a motivated day. Cost me a few quid, but it wasn't a lot of money. And we got the highest sales result from that day, I think, of all time. Because the youngsters in that team just loved the idea of winning something, albeit it was only £5. And two or three of them won four or £5, 20, 25, 30 quid because they kept getting sales. And it drove everyone in that on that day. Now, you can't do that every day, but things like that really changed the whole feeling within a team. And what we're trying to do is create that sense online of what kids but sorry, that's patronizing. What 18, 19, 21, 22-year-olds, what they do day in, day out, which is seek the next level, seek the next dopamine hit. And we're just trying to recreate that through a process of learning, which is quite exciting.
Where can people find you and follow what you do?
My phone number's on the website. But if you want to just email one of us, info@kissthefish.net is the email to use. Drop us a line. You can contact me directly, andrew@kissthefish.net. Just Google Kiss the Fish and our website will come up. And I'd love to hear from people. Even if they just want a piece of advice or they just want a comment, I'm very happy to give my time to help people. Let's be quite clear about that.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And one very, very last thing. Is there any guest you would like to see featured on our channel? And who would that be?
Well, yeah, actually, there is someone because she's been a great inspiration to me. So I think she would inspire many people in the world of fractional work. Sarah Dorr, who is the COO of the CFO Center. I've known Sarah now for over 10 years. She's just done a doctorate in business studies and a very academic lady, great public speaker. And she would be really good because she's built the CFO Center internationally into a huge brand. I think it's a 50 mil plus turnover business now, 30 mil in the UK. And she was my first point of contact when they were a UK based business, and she's spread the word globally. And she's written 2 books, I believe, recently on the whole thing about growth and about fractional work, particularly about what happens next in the grand scheme of work, the place of work. So it's a really exciting subject for older people like me who may be looking for a career, doing that kind of work, but also for youngsters, founders looking at business. It's the new way of working, and it makes so much sense. Why would you want to pay national insurance to the government when you don't need to, on people you only need occasionally in your business? So Sarah Dorr would be my choice. I think she'd make a great guest. She's a very interesting and very competent speaker.
Fab. Thanks, Andrew. And we'll post all Andrew's links down in the description. It was a pleasure having you here, and I look forward to seeing what's next for Kiss the Fish in 2026.
Absolute pleasure, Gabriel. It's great working with you. Recommend your business likewise to all the people listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew.